Start the meeting.
Okay, well, I'll start.
My glasses.
I go check with him in the back.
I am blind as a bat without my glasses.
Improvise. You're good at it.
You're gonna come somewhere outside?
Friday nights.
Really nasty mean. I mean, like
Friday night.
really nasty mean. I mean, teeth.
I got my tickets. I'm going.
I call it the anti-Lynette.
None of them will replace the original one for me, but this makes 3 of them I've gone to. So.
Okay, we're going to get started here. We're a little, actually quite shorthanded tonight. We don't have a city clerk, so I will start the meeting. Hal, do you want to read us in? We've been in closed session. We're sorry that we're running late.
Staff will proceed as directed.
And then We're having issues here. I can hear the feedback again. I heard this at our last meeting. We heard this at the last Planning Commission meeting. We've mentioned it a couple of times the best we can to the tech folks. We'll do our best to get this dialed in, but if it bothers you, I'm sorry, but I can hear it vibrating and echoing already, so I apologize.
Got someone coming in tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay. So anyway, this meeting is obviously earlier than normal tonight. We only have 3 members here and only 2 of us can stay, so we are going to try to bust through the voting portion the best we can. Any of you that showed up here expecting a vote on a couple of the hot, big topics, we have decided to table them, not to put them off, but more so because we want the other 2 members here at the next meeting. And one of the members here tonight did not want to vote on those without having the other 2 members here, so that everybody is very transparent about what's going on. But we'll do our best. So welcome to our regular City Council meeting, Wednesday, January 24th, 2018. And let's move on down. So how we're in, right? We're ready to go. Roll call, please.
Mayor Strasser.
Here.
Vice Mayor Parker.
Present.
Councilmember Moberg. Councilmember Phelps. Councilmember Senna.
Here.
Okay, we have no proclamations tonight. We have no presentations. What I would like to do on the Pledge of Allegiance, if somebody from Troop 24, we welcome you. Thank you for being here tonight. Would any of you be willing to start us off as we stand up for this? And join us if you can, please. Thank you. Go ahead and start us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
So noting that, Mayor Strasser, I'd like to recommend that we continue to a date certain. Item 7B, continuing to a date certain will avoid having to republish for a public hearing.
And I would assume that date will be the next meeting, the next scheduled meeting.
Be February 14th.
Okay. Okay, so business from the floor, folks. Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public are entitled to address the City Council concerning any item within the Nevada City Council's subject matter jurisdiction. Comments on items not on the agenda are welcome at this time. Normally, public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes each. Except for certain specific exceptions, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. Because we are removing item 7B, though, you are allowed to speak on that. I mean, that's how we've done it in the past. Since that's being removed, that is now considered off the agenda until the next meeting, so you're welcome to speak. So give us your name and address. Come on up on anything not on the agenda and or including item 7B.
Matthew Coulter, P.O. Box 1411, Nevada City, California. I'll try to go quick through this since we're moving quickly. Just for a note, Grass Valley is buying a couple of 5,000-gallon tanks to have the hydrogen or the hydroxide ice melt material, a small plant at their disposal, so you guys might be able to buy it from them eventually. Please clean the bike lanes. And then driving over here, I heard that Nevada City Grass Valley also got, again, for the 3rd year in a row, a C grade for the smoking situation. And yes, on the streets, there's certain businesses you have to definitely walk around the front of at certain hours because the smoking is so bad, and blocking the street to do so, or the sidewalk, as well as the fact that everything that gets thrown on the ground goes down the drain right into Deer Creek. Thank you.
Matt, while I have you up there, can you specify, or should we just say any and all bike lanes? Is there a specific area you've noticed that has a problem over others?
Well, I know the street sweeper from the corner of Ridge going up to the bottom of Banner, he likes to turn around right there at the Historical Society. He doesn't like to continue up the road for some reason. So that rarely gets done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Judith Lowry, Nevada City resident and booster. I have a lot of things to talk about. I only have 3 minutes. David, there's been a lot going on online about your wonderful idea for a sculpture honoring Ellen Sargent, and we've all been engaged. I wish I had more time to engage with you. As you know, I'm an artist and I have a career, and I know what I'm talking about. And I think it would be wonderful to have some time to engage with the city on that. But as you know, I'm still going to be kind of the fly in the ointment about what's going on with the Nisenan. I'm alarmed to realize recently online, because it's something you have to look at all the time, that this Sayacum Corporation, Taylorsville Rancheria, Mountain Maidu Summit Corporation, whatever it is that has mounted up against the Nisenan, has now secured a $45,000 grant for what they're calling Kulu. It's a Nisenan name, but they've appropriated it so to look good to Yuba County, where they also have a resolution for the recommendation for recognition. And in 2 other counties, this has the earmarks of an off-reservation gaming scheme, where they're looking from their poor mountain, which I think is the richest place in the world, but there's no traffic. This has happened all over California and indeed the country. We're engaged in such a thing, and you need to know this. My other super bad concern is that having subsumed certain elements of our public radio or community radio, some of our public elected officials, I think, and public, people that are involved in business, I'm just very concerned that now law enforcement might be another place where they can exert power, and that would be my concerns about their candidate for sheriff. I'm not going to say names. I'm just going to say I have deep concerns, and so did the Nisenan. This is not right. This is not good. And I think we need to pay attention to that. Otherwise, there are so many other positive things like the bridge and the beautification of the interior of our Nevada City Theater to be a Gold Rush Opera House, like what they did down at the beautiful bar in town, the Golden Era, something that shows that we look prosperous, because it's a fake it till you make it with a boom and bust town. We have to not show the sweat and look like we made it. Okay, so those are things I'd like to focus on. Sorry, it always has to come back to this tribal thing. I'd like to let it go, but you know what Smokey the Bear says? That fire has to be out. It has to be dead out. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Dale Franklin. I run contract manufacturing and aerospace airplane parts manufacturing business. Am I okay to speak on cannabis?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to say again, it's problematic for my type of business that is monitored and watched over by the federal agencies I have to work for and stay within their guidelines of quality control. To have a cluster of cannabis businesses that go against federal law and poses a higher risk for my premises as far as it interfering with any possibility of quality considerations as far as risk. I'm rated by risk assessment. Furthermore, we've started circulating petitions, and I've entered or had some entered into the city clerk, and they're to be put in mailboxes. A certain amount of the business community in particular is starting to wake up. Unfortunately, this kind of thing probably should be a vote if that could be possibly done. I don't know how it could be, because there's so many businesses, people are not residents in your area. But it is critical to change the demographic, as far as the businesses go, in such an extreme way, because some are going to leave or be compromised. And then after your election cycle, there may be a backlash. And then to bring that Seven Hills back up to where it was, it's going to take a long time. So please consider carefully on this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Frank Faffinger. I own Nevada City Shoe Repair at 117 Argyle. Actually, just kind of on the coattails of Dale's comments. Something that, this vote, which you're not going to take tonight, I understand, but something you can consider before the next meeting comes around is the long-term consequences of everything that's been done so far. I mentioned in my last couple of times here that some businesses have expressed a lot of concerns. They might even leave. Well, it's already happened, and it's going to spread like cancer, and the reason it's going to spread is the Planning Commission, for example, passed out a permit or business line, I don't know what you need to manufacture, and they put it on New Mohawk Drive. They didn't bother to consider that 80% of the building was now going to be marijuana, and in the last 20% of the building was Sierra Forever Families, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the Friendship Club. Well, Sierra Forever Families has already moved. Friendship Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters are in the process of moving, and the Friendship Club has just required another address, all three of which Grass Valley gains now, we lose. And two, that has a multiple effect, because in the Friendship Club's case, they're called angels because it's just girls and it's meeting with adult women in the community. In the Big Brothers Big Sisters area, it's called a big because there are boys and girls that are being taken care of. So you've got the child, and you've got a big, and you have the parent, all three of which, and a lot of those children are teenagers, junior high, high school type stuff. Okay, they're all being told that, well, I'm sorry, but we have to move because Nevada City has chosen to put a marijuana plant inside of our building, and we felt that it was unsafe for the children. Apparently they didn't. That doesn't look good for our city here. And, if you help somebody or do something good, they might tell one or two. If you screw them, they'll tell 8 or 10. It's an old adage, older than me. Okay? That puts it in the 600 realm, goes to the 6,000 realm, and it's spreading. Now you've got community members. One of the bigs lives on Perseverance Court. I think that's the court off of Searles. She happens to be a big in the program. She's a little fearful about even letting her children play out in the front yard because once this all kicks in, she's seen it in other areas, I guess, and she's afraid. So now you've got a resident that's upset about it, and that whole court is basically low-income, younger families with children, okay, that could afford those homes, and that's why they're there. So I just wish that you'd look not just at the immediate future, but like a business that plans 10, 20, 50-year forecasts, you look for the future of future. Because in my lifetime, since I'm older than anybody there, except for a couple gentlemen, I remember when you went to the redwood capital of the world called Willits, and every store, and it was a quaint old town like Nevada City, with everything associated with the redwood business that they used to be in. Now it's the hemp capital of the world. All the stores are gone like that. They're just hemp stores. And when my son-in-law and daughter lived there for about 6 months with the Forestry Service job they were in, they were actually told by the Forestry Service, who was told by the police department, to be very careful because everybody you see on the street, almost everybody has been in our jails at one time or another. And you always put everything indoors at night because that stuff will disappear, which they'll sell for drugs. So residents do have a legitimate claim when they're fearful. It's just something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Newmark, and I own a 5-unit industrial building at 571 Searles Avenue. And therefore, I do have a dog in this fight. If the proposals were to pass, I would be virtually surrounded by marijuana-related businesses. This would severely restrict the quality of tenants I could attract and retain. The result of that would severely reduce the value of my property. This is intolerable and should not be allowed to happen. you, the city council, have the power to see that it doesn't. And if there's any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. We can't ask tonight during public comment, but thank you.
My name is Peter Morin, and I own the commercial property on the corner of Argyle and Cyril's. 7 units right across the street from what used to be the South Yuba Club. I apologize for not being here sooner. I've been a little slow on the uptake here because, to start with, philosophically, I had no problem with initially hearing about a marijuana business going into the area. However, it's come to my attention that it appears to be a pile-on. I was astounded when I found out that there were actually not 1, but 3 dispensaries being proposed for the small city of Nevada City. It didn't make sense. So when it came to my attention, I asked some of my neighbors about it, and they said, yes, that's what's happening. I said, oh my God, I've been slow in the draw, so I started checking into it. I have an appointment with Amy Wolfson tomorrow morning at 11. I'm going to find out more about it. But I have concerns about, as Tom mentioned, I definitely have concerns about tenants and property values. Also, the Seven Hills Business District is an area that's been slowly improving. It's slowly getting better tenants, more interesting shops, restaurants, and I believe this having too many marijuana-related businesses in the area would definitely skew things. Also, I'm concerned about security, and I'm concerned about odor. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Harry Bennett, 211 Mill Street. I live at 211 Mill Street. I'm also, excuse me, the president of Floracy. I just wanted to set the record straight here. Some of the people, I'm over a mile from New Mohawk Road and the Friendship Club. I think they're getting addresses mixed up. I also like to remind everybody that my company and what we're going to be doing is for seriously sick people, and this is what we're doing, and this is going to be a benefit to the community. I spend a lot of money in Seven Hills District, and I've been in the medical cannabis business for the past 12 years. I've been to that shoe shop, and I've been to some of these other ones, and I've spent my money there. On the disruption of the neighborhood, ours is a discrete building hidden behind Mr. Newmark's place. You don't even see it. It's a one door that you're not going to smell anything, and you're going to have 4 to 6 people buying lunch, dinner at Seven Hills. And I just want to say I've been in this town for 37 years. I've been a business owner, and I think I've done a good part in what I do, and I kind of want to just make it straight that this is a legitimate business that does good for the community and patients in our area. So I'd just like to say that, but I did want to say the Friendship Club is over a mile from Boast Avenue, and I think he was talking about Floracy because we were given the permit last Planning Commission meeting, so I just wanted to set that straight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sue Downing, and I own a business, 105 Argyle Way. And I've owned this business since 1991. I've lived in Nevada City proper for 23 years. And I'm very opposed to adding 2 more dispensaries to our town and our small business district. At this point in time, there's no way to actually know what the impact is going to be with one dispensary. The big, and that big unknown in my environment is creating an atmosphere of fear and angst and actually anger with many of my neighbors and with my clients. I want to see you hold off for the year to see how the first dispensary is going to actually impact us. If having 3 dispensaries in Seven Hills and in our town ends up to be a good idea, it will still be a good idea a year from now. So please, consider holding off, and let's see what the impact is going to be for all of us small business owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we not start at 6:30?
We moved it up to 6, and I apologize. We had a situation where we notify people ahead of time, but I know not everybody would know to look for
Yeah,
that.
because I live in Grass Valley.
This
so.
is public comments, so.
Yeah, so we're,
Good, thank God.
yeah.
But Polly is supposed to be here, so I don't think Kenya.
Well, talk and we'll
Go ahead.
see. Yeah.
All right. So Patty Galley, 122 Ray Street, Grass Valley. I just wanted to come here tonight, and this is no reflection of the rest of the council because you weren't involved in this, but this is about Renette. We have been working on the homeless issue for about the last 3 years, and I would say that a year ago, no one was doing anything about it. And then due to Polly really beating the drum with the emails, and sometimes there would be 15 people on the thread. And I just want to say to you and to the public, Renette was the only one, the only elected official, the only person in a position of authority that ever responded. And, you know, it just says so much because, you know, when we run for office, we run because we're going to represent the people and we're going to make change. And sometimes when we get elected, we forget that. And I'm here to say how important it is. And now that the Board of Supervisors has approved $500,000, a new day center, and is working so hard, along with the councils, both Grass Valley and Nevada City, to address the homeless issues, I just came to say thank you for, during this past year, as hard as it has been, to be met with no response, to have you respond every time. Was really special and really important. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Susan Reynolds, Nevada City. First, I'd just like to ask if you guys, between now and then, whenever next time, could make it clearer how many feet any business can be from a school, because in the paper right here earlier this week it says marijuana businesses are not permitted to operate within 600 feet of a school, and apparently that was not the law when you guys made the ordinance, so you didn't include that, so it is not part of what is in the ordinance right now for Nevada City. But in the meantime, I understand the state has said that, but we haven't put it in ours, so I would appreciate you doing that. And then also it would be great if there could be a discussion about not only schools, but we have kids roaming all over Seven Hills. Obviously, the schools are there. And they go to and from school. They meet in SPD parking lot. And I think the ordinances that we have right now are pretty much protecting the businesses that want to come in. Dispensaries are not. Because they can go anywhere where it's zoned L1. So that is why our wonderful nonprofits have left. That's part of who we are. We're a compassionate community. We have a homeless shelter now here, and we used to have the Friendship Club, who's moving, the Forever Families, and the Big Brothers Big Sisters. And the building that they're in is now making room for more cannabis businesses because it's going to be empty when they leave, and it'll be in just a month or two. So this is a huge consequence that I don't know if anybody foresaw it. I don't know if they wanted this so that we could open places to have more and more businesses. That place on Railroad Avenue, which is across from the Senior Citizens Place at the old hotel there, you know, a lot of our vulnerable people in our community are not going to be served well by just saying, okay, open house. There can be as many cannabis businesses as anybody wants of the 5 different types, and that's what the ordinance is right now. So it seems like maybe we could think more about this and have some more discussion about this before it happens and see, well, if that's what we want, then the ordinance is in place right now. If it's not what we want, then we need to tighten it up a little bit and have some rules that will protect the most vulnerable in our community, which includes the people I've talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I'm going to close public comment. Bring it back to the table. Again, just to remind you that we cannot respond to you tonight on these topics, but thank you. We've heard it all. We've taken our notes, and you're welcome to call any of us individually. We have our contact on the website and/or call staff, and then they will get directly to us. And we're, at least most of us, myself, we will definitely speak to you individually if you ask us to. So thank you. So council members' requested items and committee reports. We have 2 other people here tonight. David.
No report.
Nothing? Renette?
I have something, but I can't think of it right now, so I'll have to be next.
I'll come back to you in a second. And again, I will keep it down to 15 seconds, but with Neil gone tonight, I will at least announce that today is National Opposite Day, and today is National Irish Coffee Day. That's the extent of my report on that. So we'll keep that going. Now we're moving on to consent items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless, before the City Council votes on the motion to adopt, members of the council, city staff, or the public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Tonight we have, it appears, 3 items. Item A, amendment to agreement with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated for wastewater treatment plant. We have item B, which is Highway 20 Auto Automatic Aid Agreement, and we have item C, correction of resolution 2017-82 to reflect intended election date of June 5th, 2018. Would anybody at the table like any of these removed for discussion? Anybody from the public? Come on, which one? Okay, Matt, that's fine. You don't have to come all the way up to the microphone, but well, come on up and tell us why, and then we will discuss it here in a second.
I just wanted to mention something on A.
Okay. And hang out there for a second. Let me get the motion on the other 2, and then we'll jump onto it.
Approves consent items B and C.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 3-0 vote. We got that. Okay, so let's move back to item A. Matt, come on up. And this is amendment to agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for wastewater treatment plant to update the City of Nevada City sewer system management plan.
Yeah, just on that subject in general, I don't know if you heard that in Monterey Bay, 5 million gallons in 8 hours ran into the bay. 7 beaches are closed, all from one valve failure and an alarm that failed to let you know the valve failed. So I just wanted to say it's a good thing to do, to not skimp on the end of the line process here, the sewage, to please protect the creek. Thank you.
Thank you. And our Public Works Director and some staff are here. They've just heard that, so you can speak about it, Chris, if you want. Otherwise, obviously, we heard it. We'll make sure that we don't, follow that example.
Sure, yeah. Chris Shack, the Director of Public Works. That's what the SSMP is about. It's about making sure all these systems are functioning and that we're doing it the way that it should be done. So it's for the safety of the environment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
Polly might want to do a public comment.
I can bring her back up.
Hey, Polly.
Well, let's finish this one though. 1 second. Okay, so no other discussion. We're looking for a motion.
Move to approve consent item A.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it passes. Okay, we are going to reopen, just because I know this topic is important right now, always, but right now tonight because of the other speakers. Polly, if you'd like to come up and speak, we'll give you another 3 minutes for public comment. So I'm going to reopen it.
I'm very grateful. I thought we started at 6:30.
That's okay.
We did a special 6
It's
o'clock.
our issue with that we were forced into, so don't worry about it. Not your fault.
Okay, great. Well, this is a topic about the warming shelter, and I would really appreciate it if the city council and everybody that's connected with the city made one of the buildings totally available during the cold weather. Over at Hospitality House, They have people coming in when the temperature drops to 40. That's when it gets really cold. When it's really bad, it's when it starts raining and everybody's wet. So over the past few weeks, we've not been able to coordinate the timing of the weather events to the availability of the two buildings. So I'm really asking and pleading that we do this, that we do our utmost effort, because when people are having a cold weather crisis, when they have frostbite, it's really physically painful, and they don't dry out. They can't go to the laundromat and dry their sleeping bags and stuff like that. So what I would like to see is looking ahead, seeing when the weather is going to come, get them inside before it's raining, and do whatever we can. If we maybe have to move some of the people who have booked events over to this room, if you don't want to have the cold weather shelter here, maybe we can just rearrange things, or just do whatever. That's all I'm asking.
And duly noted. So holler at staff, and let's actually set up a face-to-face meeting. I know I saw Janice this morning and kind of just waved at her and told her we needed to talk. I know we can't discuss it in depth tonight, but I've talked to our engineering department with Brian, and there are some long-term options that we're looking at now, but it's too early to even talk about it because I don't want to get anybody excited about something that may not happen, but let's talk.
Right, that's great. And for the rest of the community, Sierra Roots does an incredible job of caring for people who come in as they are, whatever shape they're in, which is really difficult over a couple of days or whatever it takes. So if anybody's willing to stay up all night or bring food over or whatever, contact Keith Cantrell. He's the Vice President of Sierra Roots.
Okay,
really
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
So since I reopened this for Polly, just to be fair, does anybody else have any last public comment items? I'll give you one more chance before we close it for the night. Okay, I'm going to close it. Okay, we've moved through our consent items. Approval of action minutes from the January 10th, 2018 meeting. Anybody at the table have any corrections, changes?
No.
Anybody from the public? Okay, I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, department requested action items and update reports. Looks like we really don't have anything unless anything got thrown in at the last second. Public hearings, we don't have anything, so let's move on to old business. So item 7A, an ordinance of the City of Nevada City amending chapter 3.26 of the Nevada City Municipal Code relating to the hotel renovation incentive program to extend rebate period for major restorations.
The recommendation this evening is the waived reading of the ordinance and read title only and introduced for a second reading. Ordinance 2018 XX was amending chapter 3.26 of the Nevada City Municipal Code relating to the hotel renovation incentive program to extend the rebate period for major restorations was introduced for a first reading as read title only at the January 10th, 2018 City Council meeting. The ordinance extends the original hotel incentive program from 20 years to 25 years, with 85% of the TOT increment increases being from year 1 to 15, 65% or rebate of 65% of the TOT increments for years 16 through 20, and then rebate of 50% of TOT increment increase from years 20 to 21. This would be for major restorations and for the purposes of determining the minimum expenditure required to qualify as a major restoration for the extended rebate period of 25 years. Staff has recommended that the eligibility level of improvements should exceed the minimum for the 20-year period by a factor of 3 times, totaling in excess of $2.5 million for furniture, fixtures, equipment, and shell property restoration, rehabilitation, renovation, improvements, and expansion.
And just to reiterate, because this has been, and then we'll go forward, how this has been a hot topic and a lot of questions both from the media and from the local citizens. This applies to all qualifying lodging ownership out there. So I know, yes, it was directed and intentionally put together trying to get a successful transition of the National Hotel, which is one of our most critical buildings downtown, And yes, that word is out now. It is in escrow, so we do have an ownership group that is working on that. But this applies to anybody that qualifies. This was not done exclusively for one property, so that's not the case. And it will apply fairly to anybody that qualifies for that on any lodging property that we have in town. So I just want to clarify that. So on the reading.
And in fact, when it was originally presented, I think we were talking about at least 5 different properties that qualified.
Yes. So, okay, waiving the reading, do we need to do a motion again, or we've waived it?
It's just a motion to waive reading of the ordinance, read title only, and introduce for a second reading. If you have a motion and approval of that, and then if you read the title, you're set to go.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So just the title is an ordinance of the City of Nevada City amending Chapter 3.26 of the Nevada City Municipal Code relating to the Hotel Renovation Incentive Program to extend rebate period for major restorations. Okay. Item 7B is what we are moving to the next meeting. So, and that is, I'll go ahead and read it. Review draft amendment ordinance 2018 next in order to ordinance 2017-06, section 9.22.040. Medical cannabis businesses, amending item A.1, medical cannabis dispensaries, to allow Nevada City Council to increase permitted medical cannabis dispensaries from 1 to 3. That will be on the next meeting. And again, that is not something we are doing. That means it's being considered for a vote. So just to clarify that. Okay, we're going to move on to new business, item 8.
Excuse me, just to clarify it a little more, what it'll come back for is a first reading, then it needs a second reading if it goes through the first reading, and then it wouldn't become effective until 30 days after that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 8, new business, subject A, compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, for bridge over Deer Creek on Nevada Street in Nevada City project. Brian.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Brian McAllister, City Engineer for Nevada City. We're here to present the environmental document for the bridge replacement of the bridge over Deer Creek at Nevada Street. This bridge is nearly 80 years old, and it's due for replacement. It was identified by Caltrans and Federal Highways Administration as in need of replacement due to the foundations and the potential for scour, which is the creek waters can potentially underwash the foundations, and it's also got some structural deficiencies. So the bridge is actually been replaced before. It was originally constructed in the 1860s, and then actually there was a small wooden bridge before that in the 1850s, and then 1860s it was constructed as a steel truss bridge, which is pictured over here. It lasted about 75 years, and it was replaced in 1938 with the concrete bridge that is there today, and now it's due for replacement again. We had a workshop in November, and we talked about bridge design extensively, and we'd like to set up another meeting to present the bridge design to the council and talk about the outcome of that workshop. The topic today, though, is the environmental review, and so I'll read some of the requirements. So in accordance with California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, the city has conducted an extensive environmental review of potential impacts of the project, including mitigation where necessary. The environmental document was made public and routed for public review for 30 days, and it was also sent to special concern groups like Nisanon and the Historical Society, various groups like that for review. And topics that are addressed for this environmental review include aesthetics, forest resources, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology, greenhouse gas emissions, hazardous materials, hydrology, water quality, noise, and so it's essentially analyzing what impact the project will have on the environment. And it was determined that with mitigation, there's a table of mitigation requirements that includes measures such as having a biologist present prior to disturbance of the creek and riparian area. It includes measures such as water quality monitoring during construction, noise monitoring, and then an emphasis on aesthetic concerns, because this is in the scenic corridor, which is why we went through the design process. We'd like to get back to, potentially get back to what it looked like in the 1860s, which is more of a historic look than the concrete slab bridge. So I'm here to talk about any of these environmental topics. There's a lot of information here, but that's.
I have one question.
So, sure. Questions here first.
The changes you're making, will that at all help the flooding in that area to reduce the
Yeah,
flooding?
I forgot to mention, we're also raising the bridge 18 inches, and we did a hydraulic study.
And you're shifting it also,
and
right?
we're skewing the bridge
Yeah.
20 degrees.
Well, we should mention we're taking out one of the bigger problems of the current bridge is that the cement thing in between done, that's actually sitting in.
Yeah.
That will be gone.
Yeah.
Good.
So it'll be much more hydraulically efficient. And there was actually a storm in 87 that overtopped the bridge by about a foot. And so this proposed design would carry that storm event under the bridge.
I know this is specifically for the bridge replacement, but I'm just curious if part of this reconstruction, will it in any way, shape, or form improve or mitigate the problems that the owner of the Stonehouse is having with that junction of the watershed?
We asked the hydrologist to include that in his study, and so he also looked at the confluence of the two creeks. But this bridge is upstream of that confluence, so I don't think the bridge itself will have an effect, but the study is actually useful because we can see what's happening at the confluence as it relates to Stonehouse.
Yeah, I'm hoping like the water flow, if it's improved in some way, shape, or form, would at least reduce maybe anything that backs up into that. If there is anything that would improve and help that gentleman, it would be great that it's included. It sounds like you have.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider in design. We're going to be in design and permitting for the next year.
And the last thing, and then I'll open it up to the public. I did get a call last week, and I forgot to mention that to you when I saw you down at City Hall. I think her name is Cynthia she's a member somehow of the California Historic Preservation Foundation over in Napa. And they come up and visit quite often, and she made the comment that she would love to see the bridge with wooden slats, apparently like it was back in the 1800s, even if it's over the new coated cement type structure. I hadn't thought about that, and when we had the workshop, I don't think that was mentioned or even looked at. I don't know if you guys have, but she just said that cosmetically it would look historic if it had wood that the cars actually drove over, even though it would still be on a different type of structure. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, that's a good input. We welcome any input on the design because we want it to be the right kind of bridge for the community. There's certain criteria that it has to meet for compliance with federal highways, which is actually providing, I think it's like more than 90% of the cost of the bridge is reimbursable by federal highways. So it has to carry truck loading and meet all the current requirements.
Yeah. I think her intentions were more cosmetic. It would still be a properly designed bridge, but wood on top for appearance sake. her comment was at the sound of a car driving over wood, there was nothing more historic than that, hearing the clickety-clack. That was a term she used. So,
Okay.
anyway, let me go ahead and open it up to the public. So if you have any questions for Brian or staff on this topic, come on up now. And obviously, we will be arranging for another meeting. I don't know if it'll be a town hall type meeting or just at a council meeting presentation, so you'll have more time to give input. Looks like nobody. Okay. I'll close it, bring it back to the table. Any other comments for Brian?
I'm excited about it.
Okay, it looks like we need a motion. To pass the resolution.
To approve Resolution 2018, next in order, adopting the mitigated negative declaration prepared by LSA Associates Incorporated in compliance with CEQA.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, just so you know too, I approached Brian and maybe others with some other options that we had found, bridges that are being manufactured and used around the country that would have saved us $1 million or $2 million, but then Brian informed me that most of the money is being paid by like Caltrans and or feds anyway, so in this case it didn't help us, but we are always looking at a way to try to cut the money down if we have other equal or better options. So at least thanks for listening to me.
You bet.
Beat you up on that one.
Thank you.
Thanks. Correspondence, the only thing we had would have been anything in your boxes. Any announcements, Renette?
One of the reasons why we had this meeting early is because I'm off to a dress rehearsal. I'm in Marat Sod. And this is at Nevada Theater, and Friday is our opening night, and we're doing a special opening for Hospitality House. So all funds will go towards them. So please join us. It'll be 3 weekends in a row with the Nevada Theater. And it's a historic play. And it's a French insane asylum. So it's, you know, it's a lot like Nevada City. So join us if you can.
Dave?
I'll be joining you, Renette.
Thank you, Dave.
And our other two council members are traveling this week, so everything just kind of hit at once, a perfect storm, so we apologize. It is what it is. And as volunteers, though, it's not something that we can hold their hands to the fire. We all have other lives also, so I'm sorry about that. I would say we do have tomorrow night, I believe, at 5 to 7 p.m. At the Rood Center. We do have the Cultural Arts District meeting. If you have an interest in that part of the quality of life here, both performing and visual arts, as well as cultural topics, come on over to the Rood Center and sit in on that and give your input. So 5 to 7 tomorrow night, I believe, at the actual supervisor's chamber. Couple meetings coming up, committee meetings that'll be important, but that's before the next meeting, so I guess we'll report on it then. City manager's report.
Sierra Streams Institute, as we talked about the last meeting, started fire clearing Monday, the 22nd. The police department is collecting donations for Team NCPD and participation, Bowling for Kids' Sake for Big Brothers Big Sisters in Nevada County. And the warming shelter will be open. It is open tonight, tomorrow, and we were able to work with the vets who generously allowed us to hold downstairs, because they usually do a meal for the vets if they can, so that they can be open on Friday as well.
Okay. Okay, so that's the city manager's report. The only other thing, whether you know him or not, but if you do know him especially, thoughts and prayers go out to Dave Irons and his family. So if you know him, you might want to look into that and give that family a call and make contact with them. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is over. Thank you so much for your patience tonight, folks. We'll see you next time.